Black people will never liberate ourselves using outdated foot march strategies against modern white racist systems. This noted irony is by deliberate design because we no longer have true black national leaders. We instead now only have puppet leaders who won't confront the modern ways in which we're being subjugated and currently oppressed by the white society because they actually work in behalf of the white establishment. They merely present the illusion that we have black leadership. This fact provides clarity to the words of FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover when he said that the only way that we'll have another black national leader would only be if the government creates one. After stating that the unification of the American Negro is the greatest threat against the nation, Hoover issued a directive to prevent the rise of another black messiah figure who could unify and electrify a black national movement. It's clear to see that they've succeeded at meeting that objective. Think long and hard about the fact that we no longer have black national leaders that have reached the pinnacle heights that Dr. King and Malcolm X had reached. Are we really expected to believe that there are no longer among our ranks of over 50 million African Americans not one single individual that possessed the ability and qualification to stand upon a national platform and articulate our cause and struggle? Many African Americans have been misled to believe that black men like Malcolm X and Dr. King no longer exist among our ranks. But this is totally untrue. But it's precisely what we've been manipulated to believe. Here's what's actually happening. The government has a historical incentive for not wanting to have another outspoken African American leader reach to the level of influence and prominence as Dr. King had reached. They deemed Dr. King as being a threat to U.S. national interests. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover and his top senior aide, William Sullivan, said that Dr. King had become too influential, therefore too powerful, and labeled Dr. King as being the most dangerous Negro toward the future of the nation. Dr. King was shortly thereafter assassinated. White oppressive forces realized that it was by providing a national media platform to Dr. King that his popularity and his followers grew. They therefore now prevent the rise of a new black messiah figure by denying a national platform from those amongst us that had the potential of becoming a true national black leader. And they provide it only to their black puppets. The white establishment literally treats those black people with true revolutionary mindsets like a gardener treats weeds within his garden. A gardener doesn't want weeds spreading through his garden, so he denies it of water and fertilizer. Likewise, the white establishment doesn't want the ideology of the black conscious to spread through their garden of white supremacy. So they deny it national media platform to prevent it from growing. This prevents it from spreading. Today, black leaders are selected and controlled by the ruling white elites. They do so by controlling who they give a national media platforms to. If these black people don't cooperate and do the bidding of the white elites, they won't be given any airtime on the national media. As I said, the elites found that giving media attention to those black people who speaks truth to power works to the detriment of the white establishment. In reality, there are still many black people among our ranks with the capabilities and the spirits of Malcolm and Martin. However, these types of black people are no longer given any media attention because the white establishment don't want their ideology to spread amongst the black masses thus disrupting the system of white supremacy. They falsely justify doing so by labeling the ideology of black liberation as being anti-white and militant rhetoric. They claim that the ideology breeds hatred and dissent against the white society. They therefore treat the ideology of black liberation literally as if it were weeds within their garden. This is why the revolution of black minds will not be televised. There's more. Have you ever noticed that on those televised Black Summit shows, they always place black rappers and other black people on those panels that are not qualified to be on those panels? It's actually a suppression tactic that prevents black liberation. White oppressive forces controls who sits on those televised panels. And they're controlled by only financing and televising the shows with the speakers that they approve of. They even have a list of black people that are banned from being given a national media platform within the country. They then either invite or approve the invitation of black entertainers, and they always get black entertainers and those self-loathing black people to speak on these televised panels. This limits the spectrum of the dialogue to merely opinions, but allows for a lively debate with a low-level spectrum. It's how white oppressive forces assure that black liberating dialogue remains dumbed down and non-productive. Don't be discouraged by your perception that black people aren't waking up, because your perception of reality is an elaborate white deception. Millions of black people are awakened. You're not seeing our true reality. You're instead seeing a false, negative, black, racially demoralizing distortion of our collective state that aids the white society in maintaining their control and social dominance over us. Presently, white government agents that specialize in psychiatry and propaganda works unrelentingly behind the scenes, manipulating the collective minds of the black masses. These men analyze everything and study everything about the black population, our beliefs, our dislikes, our strengths, our weaknesses. This surveillance information is gathered, and then decisions are then made on which fraudulent stories to produce to best create psychological feelings among the black masses that assist the white society maintain their control and social dominance over black people. These men govern our minds, molds our opinions, and shapes our perception of reality and of ourselves in ways that serve the system of white supremacy. It's an elaborate perception management system. Perception management is a propaganda technique that involves altering the perception of a targeted audiences in ways that serve the objectives of the ruling class. It's a well-proven system that is an essential part of modern information warfare. According to white social scientists, true power lies in only what's perceived as being true. Perception is more important than reality when it comes to controlling people, because people function based upon their perception of what's true rather than what actually is true. Therefore, as a means of maintaining white social dominance over black people, white propagandists and white social scientists systematically feeds false information and distorted media images into the society that creates and sustains false assumptions within society that aids in maintaining white social dominance over black people. It's the true fact. It's the hidden truth that white oppressive forces don't want black people to ever learn. They want to keep our minds dumbed down from learning it. Black people, it's time to wake up to the fact that although most of us no longer experience white racism the way our ancestors experienced it, we, however, do still experience white racism. When the past blatant white racist subjugation tactics deployed in the past became morally and socially unacceptable with the changing times, and resulted in unprecedented black protests, the ruling white elites did not abandon their practices. They merely develop more stilted design ways of subjugating black people. They develop more covert methods of maintaining their white dominance over black people that's more socially acceptable with the changing times, and that is not easily recognized by black people. Unlike the blatant white racist subjugation tactics of the past that black people could easily recognize and therefore develop counter strategies against, today's current methods are not easily recognized, nor are they easily comprehended by their black victims. White racism always works best when its black victims no longer recognize how it works. This is our hidden reality. The system of white supremacy now strives and operates like a well-oiled machine. It has always worked best when its black victims don't understand it. It's why our people must be educated in order to be liberated. To learn how white racism is currently deployed against black people, it's necessary to learn the following: the socializing of the oppressed, demoralizing divide and rule of the oppressed, manufactured consent to mistreat the oppressed, the miseducation of the oppressed to accept the oppressor's dominance over their lives, and the gaslighting of the oppressed. Those black people who insist that we're now our worst enemies are the most clueless among us. When you get on social media, talk about black people, you don't know nothing about us. You don't even know what's going on. Those who say that we are worst enemies, you are the most mentally enslaved among us. We must elevate our minds. I will do another video explaining those 5 tactics. One love and peace, brothers and sisters. It's time to wake up to our reality. And none but ourselves can do so.